and welcome back to Lady Jane Books. Today I'm doing the School Days Booktag. Before we get started, I just want to take a moment and remind everyone that I will be doing an Ask Me Anything to celebrate my 1 year on BookTube. So at the very beginning of August, I'm either going to do a live show or upload a video where I answer questions from you guys about me. It doesn't have to be anything BookTube related. It could be personal, it could be professional, it could be advice. I'd love to give advice. And I want to kind of treat this as a shout out session to show my gratitude to all my subscribers and viewers for the past year. So if you would like to participate, be sure to leave your question in the comments section and I'm going to include it in my Ask Me Anything. I was tagged to do the School Days Booktag by the fabulous Amrita by the book. Oh my goodness, she has just celebrated her 1 year BookTube anniversary, and let me tell you, she has created one of the best channels on BookTube in my opinion. She's so sweet, she's hilariously funny. You have to go check out her channel and especially wish her a happy 1 year BookTube anniversary. So thank you, Amrita, for tagging me in this. I'm so excited about it. So the way that this tag is done, it's actually in two parts. There's the standard like school day schedule questions, and then there's the subject questions, and you can kind of mix and match the subject questions. So let's get started. Number 1, first bell. Tell us about a book that first got you into reading. My parents are very avid readers. It's really impressive. My dad has read like everything under the sun, and my mom is a speed reader. She can fly through like 400-page book in about 2 hours. It's quite impressive. I don't know how she does it, and I definitely did not inherit that trait. But the good thing about having two avid readers for parents is that I got bedtime stories. So my parents would read to me every single night before bed, sometimes a chapter, sometimes 3 chapters, and I just really enjoyed it. So my earliest memory is actually my father reading to me Stuart Little, the original book. It was such a great memory because every night Stuart would go on these adventures, and then eventually we moved on to 101 Dalmatians. So that's my earliest memory of books that were read to me. And then as I got older and was reading on my own, I really was a fan of the series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. Now, I know when everybody else was reading like Pollyanna and Anne of Green Gables, I was reading a series of unfortunate events. And that kind of just sets up the whole tone of who Lady Jane Books is. I know now that the first one, The Bad Beginning, was probably very problematic. There's some themes in there that are actually quite very dark and scary. But I think I was so young that it kind of went over my head. So long story short, it was Stuart Little, 101 Dalmatians, and eventually a series of unfortunate events. Number 2, break time. What book have you most recently needed to take a break from or DNF'd? Unfortunately, I'm kind of in the middle of this situation right now. I am presently reading Unbury Carol, and it's been a few days. It's been a few days since I've picked up the book, since I've hit play on my audiobook, and I'm not sure. I'm very, very close to a DNF, guys. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to magically pick it up again. I don't know. I thought that Unbury Carol was going to be a really creepy, like, horror book, and that's what the synopsis kind of conveyed to me. But I'm finding that it's much more heavy on, like, the Wild West theme, and it's about outlaws and race against time. It's not exactly what I thought it was going to be, and quite frankly, I don't think I'm enjoying it as much as I thought I was going to. So I'm taking a break from it right now. I haven't picked it up in a few days, and I may or may not have to DNF it. We are just going to have to see. But for this question, I'm answering Unbury Carol. Lunchtime. Name a favorite book that features food. For this, I'm going with Thinner by Stephen King. And if you know, you know. Basically, there's a whole dramatic situation about a piece of pie. And let me just say, that scene about the pie took the cake. But it was very creepy and very dramatic when I read it. There's a scene that involves a pie, and it's this horrific, dramatic moment. It really stayed with me for a long time after I read it. So for this one, I have to go with Thinner by Stephen King. Final bell. Which book have you most recently finished reading? I actually just finished The Tenant at WILDFELL Hall. And spoiler alert, I absolutely loved it. Oh my goodness, it was so unexpected to what I thought it was going to be about. So I loved it. Great story, wonderful. I actually thought about doing a full review on it, but I wasn't sure if anybody would be interested. So let me know if you would like me to do a full review of The Tenant of WILDFELL Hall. Leave a comment down below and we'll see if I get to review it. But basically, this was so good. I loved it. I cannot stop thinking about some of the dynamics in the book, and it was oddly modern for such a classic novel. So I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas and opinions about it, and I would like to share them with you, but let me know if you actually want to hear them. So the last book that I finished reading was The Tenant at WILDFELL Hall by Anne Bronte. Homework. What was the last nonfiction book you read and enjoyed? I really do not read that much nonfiction. It's something I probably should get more into, and I know it can be very, very interesting, especially when it comes to true crime, but I don't have a lot to choose from for this prompt. So I'm going to have to answer The Phantom Prince. I read this last year. It was one of the very first books I reviewed, and I loved it. It chronicles Elizabeth Kendall's relationship with notorious serial killer Ted Bundy. It was very creepy, very eerie, very heartbreaking at times. So I'm going to have to answer The Phantom Prince by Elizabeth Kendall. Staff room. Tell us about a book you go to when you need a break. I read a lot of heavy books with very dark themes, and so every once in a while I kind of need a breather. I need to cleanse my palate, and I need something kind of lighter and not as dark and dreary. Lately I've been going to the Beryl and Edwina series. I've talked about this on my channel a couple of times. They are just so fun. They're kind of fluffy. They're just these really great mystery books. And I love the interaction of the characters between Beryl and Edwina as they're trying to solve these mysteries. So that has been my latest go-to for a little bit of a lighter read. Or I go for the spicy, slightly inappropriate dark romance books. I guess it just depends on my mood. Light and fluffy, Beryl and Edwina, or dark romance books. I love how I say dark romance books for a break. Really, Jane? Okay. Depends on my mood. And now we go on to the subjects section. So the way this works is that there's a list of subjects and a prompt goes with each subject, and you can do as little or as many as you like. So let's dive in. English class. Tell us about a book you studied in school and one book you would like to add to the curriculum. I studied TESS of the D'Urbervilles in English class, and I absolutely loved it. Now looking back, that seems like a pretty advanced book for the grade level that I was in, but I'm so glad that we read it anyway because it is actually one of my favorite classics of all time now. I don't think it's actually that popular, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it as a classic novel. Basically, TESS of the D'Urbervilles is about this young girl named Tess who is part of a peasant family. Her father is convinced that they are actually related to a local noble family, so she is sent off to claim kin to the D'Urbervilles, a very rich family. There she meets a man named Alec, who is incredibly charming and very interested in Tess. Tess's parents think that this is a godsend, that this is their chance for Tess to marry rich. And then things quickly go downhill. I could talk about Tess of the D'Urberville for hours. It is so analytically rich and one of my favorite stories of all time. It has really, really dark, important themes about sexual assault, the sexual double standard, grief, loss, and victim blaming. It's a book that really opened my eyes at the time, and it really changed my thinking to this day. I love this story. I think it's incredibly important to read and study, so I have to answer TESS of the D'Urbervilles. As for a book that I would like to add to the curriculum, I would love to add The Tenant at WILDFELL Hall, although I do see that there is a lot of similarities with the themes between The Tenant at WILDFELL Hall and TESS of the D'Urbervilles. I think it would be a really interesting idea to group them together in its own class, perhaps a women in history study or a women's studies class. We didn't have any of that when I was going to school, but I really, really think that both of these books are very valuable, and I would really like to see more students read The Tenant at WILDFELL Hall. Mathematics. How do you rate books? I am guilty of really relying on the feelings a book gives me. I do try to incorporate ideas like writing style, tone, perspective, and overall story arc and characterization. So I do keep those things in mind when I'm reading a book, and definitely when I'm reviewing one. But if I'm reading for fun, I really just go for feelings and atmosphere and how the book made me feel emotionally. So it's kind of a mix of those two things. Science. Which book couple do you think has the best chemistry? Hands down, it has to be two characters from The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. One is definitely Evelyn Hugo because I just adore her. This is one of my favorite books, so this is not a surprise to anybody. But I can't tell you who the other character is because of spoilers. But I loved this romance. I loved their dynamic. They were just an amazing, beautiful couple, and it brought tears to my eyes several times. So I have to go with the two characters I have in mind from The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Geography. Name a book that has a great sense of place or world building. For this, I'm going to answer The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I loved the atmosphere and setting of this book. It is so creepy, so spine-tingling. You felt really immersed in the story. It had really great world building. The Silent Patient actually takes place in a psychiatric hospital, and Alex Michaelides did a great job in setting the stage for this book. When I was reading it, I could smell those cleaning chemicals that a lot of hospitals smell like. I could see the fluorescent lighting. I could just feel like I was in the story. I loved it. I thought he did a great job building atmosphere. So I have to answer The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. History. What 3 historical fiction novels have you most enjoyed? And if you don't read historical fiction, what period in time would you like to learn more about? As for the first part of this question, I loved The Good Earth by Pearl S. Buck. This was another book that I had to read for school, and quite frankly, I was kind of dreading it because it was a very thick book and it seemed very intimidating at the time. But I remember one summer day, I just sat on my back porch, opened up the paperback, and I think I read over half of it in one afternoon, which was a big accomplishment for a very slow reader. And I just got immersed in the story. I was so involved in it. It was so good, so analytically rich. Oh my goodness, that actually is another one of my all-time favorite books. So number 1 has to be The Good Earth by Pearl S. Buck. The second pick is definitely The Help by Catherine Socket. Now I know that this one's been a little bit controversial, but I read it the year that it came out, and I actually really enjoyed the story. And it was a really, really engaging, important book. So my second choice is The Help by Catherine Socket. And lastly, I definitely have to mention Girl with the Pearl Earring by TRACY CHEVALIER. I love this story. It was beautifully done. This is a story about a young girl named Greet. And the story is basically about her creating this beautiful connection with the very famous painter Vermeer as she's working in his household. I absolutely love how the author took this gorgeous, famous historical painting and created an entire backstory and world about it. Oh my goodness, it was beautifully done, really gorgeous. I love the writing style. So I definitely have to go with Girl with the Pearl Earring by TRACY CHEVALIER. Physical education. Show us the biggest book on your bookshelf. Oh, this is too heavy for me. Come on, Jane, use those muscles. Here we go. It has to be It by Stephen King. This book is over 1,150 pages. It is a monstrosity of a book. It is huge. I actually got about a third of the way into it when I tried to read Stephen King in 1 month last year. I don't know what I was thinking. I was a different person back then. I had hopes, I had dreams, and now I don't have any of that. So, but in all honesty, this is the biggest book. Music. Which format of book do you think is most conducive to the rhythm of reading? I love physical reading, but the problem is that I am just a very, very slow reader, and so I don't get to read as much in a period of time as I would like to. So in a perfect world, I have to say physical books, but for me, and to read at the pace that I would like to read, I have been going a little bit more onto the audiobook side of things. I like audiobooks. I like how you can kind of speed them up if you're not feeling a book, or you can savor them and read them in real time. So I think audiobooks are working for me, but I definitely would prefer physical books. Drama. What book do you think has the best ending? Absolutely nobody is going to be surprised by this, but I have to say Revival by Stephen King. It is a slow burn and it's a lot of build-up and eeriness, but then the ending just kind of rips the carpet right from under you. And I love it. It's so good. It haunted me for a long time and actually changed my thinking for a period of time. So I have to go with Revival by Stephen King. And lastly, I'm going to tag some people. First, I'm going to tag my new booktube buddy, Fraser. FYI, Fraser does incredible wrap-ups. Like, I have never seen someone read that many books in 1 month. You gotta go check it out. It's really amazing. So I want to tag him in this and see which books that he would choose. I'm also tagging Dark Roots Creations, Lit Noir, and Very Literary Carrie. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. And welcome back to Lady Jane Books. What am I doing today? I forgot what I'm doing today. Story of Jane's life. She forgets what she's doing today. Before we get started, I just want to remind everyone that to celebrate my upcoming birthday? No. Number 2, break time. What? I actually just finished the TENANT, TESS of the D'Urbervilles in class, and I loved it. Oh my goodness, it was so good. It actually is now my favorite classic of all time. Train. But basically, Tess of the D'Urbervilles is about this young girl named Tess who No, Jane. Oh! But I can't tell you who the other character is because I just did something super weird, like my contact just inverted or something in my eye. Oh my goodness, that was weird. Physical education. Show us the biggest book on your bookshelf. Almost there. Come on, Chan, you can do it. Use the muscles. Oh, that didn't sound right. Oh my goodness, no. That's funny. Music. What reading format do you think has the best rhythm for reading? Music. What? What? Music. 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 Music now. Okay, Jane, calm down. Geography.